Air Transat 236, Flight 236, departed from Toronto Pearson International Airport late in the evening, heading toward Lisbon, Portugal. Up in the cockpit were Captain Robert Pichet and First Officer Dirk de Jager. Passengers settled in for the overnight journey while the aircraft climbed to cruising altitude over the Atlantic. But hidden inside the right engine, a maintenance issue began tugging at one of the aircraft's most vital systems. A hydraulic component had been installed incorrectly days earlier. Over time, vibration caused damage to a fuel line. As the aircraft climbed, jet fuel slowly began leaking into the darkness behind the aircraft. No one on board knew it yet. Hours into the flight out over the ocean, the issue began to rear its head as warnings appeared in the cockpit. At first, the crew believed the aircraft was suffering from a fuel imbalance, a relatively manageable issue. To correct it, fuel was transferred from one tank to another. But the real problem wasn't imbalance. The plane was losing fuel. Thousands of kilograms of fuel were being dumped into the night air. Now the defect showed itself in full. One engine failed. Moments later, the second engine shut down too. The aircraft was now just a 150-ton glider. The Airbus A330 lost all engine power. For most aircraft, that would mean catastrophe. But the A330 still had one advantage: altitude. At nearly 39,000 feet, the aircraft could glide. The crew began troubleshooting, using procedure in an attempt to restart the engines. But as nothing worked, they pieced together the puzzle. The aircraft had run out of fuel over the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. They set the transponder to 7700, the standard for emergency, and made a mayday call to air traffic control. The nearest possible landing site was the military airbase at Lajes Air Base in the Azores. The pilots diverted immediately. But they were still hundreds of kilometers away. The pilots now faced an almost impossible challenge: guide a powerless aircraft safely to land before losing too much altitude. Inside the cabin, panic set in. The engines had gone quiet. Cabin systems were limited. Emergency lighting activated. Oxygen masks had released. Some passengers prayed. Others wrote farewell messages. The aircraft continued descending toward the Azores, silent in the night. Commercial airliners are not designed to fly without engines for extended periods. Yet Flight 236 glided for approximately 20 minutes across the Atlantic. The pilots carefully managed speed and altitude, attempting to stretch every kilometer. Without engine power, hydraulic systems became limited. Braking capability was reduced. Flight controls became harder to operate. The crew had only one chance to land successfully. No go-around if they messed up. As the island finally appeared ahead, the pilots lined up with the runway at Lajes Air Base. But they were coming in fast, very fast. The aircraft touched down hard and bounced, then slammed into the runway again. Tires burst instantly, brakes overheated. Smoke and sparks trailed behind the jet as it skidded down the runway. The crippled jet stopped less than a kilometer from the end of the strip. All 306 people on board survived. Several passengers and crew suffered minor injuries during the evacuation, but the outcome was considered extraordinary. Investigators later discovered the cause. A maintenance error involving incompatible engine parts had damaged a fuel line, leading to the leak that doomed the flight. The incident became one of the longest engine-out glides ever performed by a commercial airliner. It also raised serious questions about maintenance procedures, communication, and cockpit decision-making. Air Transat Flight 236 incident became a case study in skill, training, and human decision-making under pressure. a powerless aircraft, an ocean below, and a crew forced to attempt the impossible. On that night in 2001, 306 people walked away from a flight that should never have made it to land.